Welcome back to the Athlete Stories podcast. This show is brought to you by WODProof Bionic. WODProof launched a program to help pro members improve their mobility and range of motion while becoming better overall athletes. It tracks and analyzes movement in real time with the goal of providing unique mobility plans for each user. There's a link in the show notes to check it out and get a free trial. The show is also brought to you by X Endurance Sports Supplements. X Endurance is one of the few products out there that's approved by Informed Sport for professional athletes, for athletes that get drug tested and whatnot. And it's the majority of the products that I take on a daily basis. So check out the link in our show notes as well for a discount for X Endurance. Back to the show. Today we have Sydney. I'm going to say it, and I might butcher it, but I'm going to say it anyways because I haven't asked you yet. Sydney Michalyshen?
Close. Very close.
Okay.
Michalyshen.
Okay, that didn't sound different to me, but it's your name.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Is
it's
it like
honestly very close.
Is it like a stronger k? Like, where did I go wrong?
I think you said Michalyshen. Michalyshen. So I think it's the emphasis.
Michalyshen.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, sweet. Awesome.
It's very subtle. I go with anything, really.
Yeah, I feel that. Where does it come from? Like, what nationality is that, or where does your last name come from?
It's Ukrainian.
Your parents. Ukraine. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my next follow-up for that was, but thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. It is Thursday, July 1st. Typically International Active Recovery Day. I know, Amanda typically gets body work every Thursday and moves a little bit. Is that your flow too? Do you guys have similar flows out there?
I think today's Friday.
You're right. Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, I did not do active recovery today. I'm destroyed right now. No.
Yeah, we're a little off. No, I don't even know why I would think today's Thursday. Because we're at the gym and everything. So what's your day like today? What's your Friday like?
Fridays is a big day. We start at the track and we do a big track workout. So I did a bunch of mile repeats and then we do a field workout. So today was dumbbells and running on the field. So we were outside for a good 3 hours this morning, took advantage of the heat, and then our second session was in the gym. So a big sweaty day today.
Awesome. And for the audience that may or may not know, Sydney, you're with CompTrain in Boston, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And your coach is Jarrett, is that right?
Yeah, Jarrett Smith and Ben Bergeron. So I'm working with those guys, and I moved here this year. So this is my first year working with the CompTrain crew, and it's been amazing.
That's awesome. Where'd you move from?
Canada. So I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's right in the middle.
Okay. What made you choose CompTrain? What was that like for you looking at camps and deciding on that one to be your place you go train?
Honestly, it sounds super cheesy to say, but the people and just the environment. I feel I've always just seen the dynamic of coach-athlete relationships and athlete-athlete relationships that go on there, and just the environment just looked super fun to be around. And I've always been a fan of it's funny to say because I train with her, but Amanda, I just really look up to her in the way that she does a lot of things in the sport, the way she trains, the way she recovers, and all that type of stuff. And I was I really want to learn from her. I really want to be there. And I've always looked up to Ben from the time that I've started in the sport, really. So when I was looking for a place to train and training partners and that type of stuff, that was kind of my first choice. And I was I don't know if they want me, but I'm gonna see. And it all kind of worked out. So
that's awesome. And you decided that after last year's CrossFit Games?
Yeah. I went to the games and I kind of saw what it takes to be in the top 10 at the games, and I was I want that. I really want that. I want to make it back again, and I want to continue to grow. And I knew that I had kind of hit my peak where I was. I didn't have any training partners, so I knew I had to leave. So I was CompTrain's like pretty cool. That would be my first choice. Let's see if I can go there, and it ended up happening. But yeah, so kind of after the games last year, I knew that I needed to make a switch.
That's awesome. It's a little easier to get, we'll say, accepted into a camp when you're a CrossFit Games athlete. So
it is easier, yeah, when you come with a little bit of that, but still, like, I felt very, I was just over the moon excited to be able to like move here full time and to get to just like, I felt like I just kind of like jumped into like getting to train with like Chandler and Amanda, and every single day I was like, whoa, how did I get here, type of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It felt crazy. Yeah.
What is, if you were going to tell your life story in maybe 2-3 minutes, what would that sound like?
I think it would probably be, I grew up playing a sport that I really, really loved. I played volleyball growing up, and I had really, really high goals and aspirations for that sport, and it ended up not working out. And I was a little bit sad about it. I was frustrated. I was like working really, really hard, and I had these really big goals in volleyball. And then kind of like CrossFit just kind of like popped into my life, and it was almost like an opportunity to like start again, like in a new sport, to take that hard work and stuff that I was putting into volleyball, but I wasn't really getting the results out of it that I had hoped for. So it was kind of like a redo. I got to put that same level of passion and hard work into a new sport, and it was almost like it was like made for me. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Like, I kind of had like an athletic build. I kind of looked like a CrossFitter before I even did CrossFit. So when I started, I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense, and kind of just applied that same level to a new sport, and just ended up falling in love with it and being like relatively successful in it. So yeah. Kind of just that.
And are you born and raised in Winnipeg?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your first time leaving the nest?
Yeah, first time away from home.
Got it. Did you go to college, or did you after high school start CrossFit? Like, what age? How old are you right now? Sorry.
I'm 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you play volleyball in high school, or when did you stop playing volleyball?
I played Division I volleyball for the University of Manitoba. So I went to college for 4 years. So I guess like 18, 19, 20, and 21. So I went to school, and then I had a volleyball scholarship to play there. And I ended up playing volleyball basically from age like 13 to 17. And then I got my offer for college volleyball at age 17. And then I played 2 years there. And then I was also studying kinesiology. So I was in school to get a physical education degree. And I did that. And then so after 2 years of playing volleyball, I was like, I can't, like, I love CrossFit so much. So I ended up just playing volleyball my first year. And then my second year, I was doing school volleyball and CrossFit. And I was like, I love CrossFit so much. Like, I love this way more. Like, my heart was so invested in that sport, even though I was still playing for my school. So I was like, I can't do this again. I was like, I'm just going to stick out this season. And then the following year, I'm just going to go all CrossFit. And then, so my third year of school, it was just school and just CrossFit. And that was the year I made the games. And then this coming up year, I was like, I'm going to see what happens if I just do CrossFit. Let's see what happens there. So that's where we're at so far.
Gotcha. And did you finish school, or did you leave school?
I left school. I didn't finish. I was about 2/3, maybe that's a little generous, 2/3 of the way through a degree. I had always taken like a pretty light course load just because I was always playing sports and all that type of stuff. I was kind of just like taking my time to get through it because I always had another thing. It wasn't ever just school. So yeah, no degree, but that's okay.
Yeah, that is okay. You're super young. For what it's worth, I'm 32, and I know I don't look it, but no, I'm 32, and this camera lighting that Soroka gave me makes me look hopefully not 32, but anyways, I am like, I'll be 4 classes away from my undergrad. I take like 1 class a semester, and I have for like the past 10 years.
That's amazing. I feel like I can relate to that super hard. Like sometimes you just like you have so much going on, you just got to like chip away,
Yeah.
and then you'll get there. That's cool.
Yeah, and
4 classes away.
Yeah, after this,
close.
I'm in like a summer B right now. Summer B, and I've got 1 course. I had 2, but I dropped the other one because it was a huge workload. And as you know, with my profession, over the next 6 weeks, we'll have enough going on.
It's gonna be a little busy.
Yeah, so I kept one of them and dropped the other one. But I say that to say that you know, I think you're investing in what's important right now, and you can always circle back and get that later.
Yeah, of course. That was kind of what I thought when I decided this year to part ways with school. I was like, you gotta do what's right in the moment, and school will always be there, but your prime and your body will not. So you kind of got to take it while you have the shot.
Absolutely, I agree. And I'm not one of those people that's like, I'm not a college detractor, like, oh, F college, you know what I mean? Like, I still think there's a significant amount of value behind getting your undergrad, and the statistics are pretty clear that people with an undergrad, on average, get paid more than people without one. All that to say, I actually don't know why I'm saying this. Hold on. All that to say, I don't think you have to get it in 4 years to be successful. You know what I mean?
Like, you can take your time. You can go back. Of course.
And you have a career, right? So you have the luxury of taking an alternate route for now, and you can circle back later on.
Yeah.
So smart move. I approve. Long story short, I approve.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It's been working out really good so far. So
awesome. What do your parents do?
My mom is a teacher, and my dad's a police officer back home.
Super traditional.
Yes, very, very.
Yeah. Like anyone I've ever met from Canada has like a super like traditional, like blue collar lifestyle. Mom's a parent, dad's a cop. Like, do anybody in Canada do anything other than that stuff? Like,
I know it sounds super funny. Like whenever people are like, "Oh, what do your parents do?" and I tell them, I'm like, "Yeah, it's super just like straightforward. It's like they do that, but they're awesome. They're happy. They love what they do." So I'm a little bit
raised in public schools?
Off the path. Yeah, public school my whole way.
Got it. And with your mom being a teacher and your dad being a cop, what did you want to do growing up? Like, what was your first career choice?
Ooh, that's actually good. I don't know if one really comes to mind. I think I always had fitness goals. I never really had a career goal, which is like funny to think back at, but I was never really like, oh, I want to be this when I grow up. Oh, I want to do this. I was very like focused on the sport I was playing at the time, and I kind of was like, I just want to be really, really good at that. Like, I don't really know what the future is gonna hold or what I'm gonna want to do then, but all I know is I want to do this right now. So I kind of would just do that. I did, and I still do. I think being a physical education teacher would be unbelievable. I think that would be super rewarding. It would be very cool. Who knows where life will take me. If I ever did go back to school, I definitely would finish that degree. But yeah, I never really was one of those kids that grew up with a job in mind, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about that since like I was probably 4.
Really? What would you say?
The first job I ever wanted, let me think. I was going to say something, but I want to make sure it's accurate. My first job was I wanted to be an architect. My dad is a civil engineer, and so basically he's just a low-paid architect, for what that's worth. And when I was a kid, he would basically do these drawings, like infrastructure drawings, and then these dynamic specs for building new department malls or whatever, or a new car wash. He didn't do like houses or anything like that. And so I would see that, and I was really good at drawing. It kind of runs in my family. I don't know how there's like a genetic trait for drawing, but apparently there is. And so I was like, well, architects make a lot of money, and I'm good at drawing. But then I took an AutoCAD class, and like I think 8th grade, and it was really boring. So it wasn't what I thought. So
You're like, I don't know about that.
yeah, no, I didn't want to do that. I knew I wanted to be a math teacher at one point because I was really good at math.
Cool.
I think early on, basically, I was like, what am I good at and what makes a lot of money? And so when I realized math teachers don't make a lot of money, I was like, well, not that. Also, the way that I did math as a kid, like I'm one of those, like, I never wrote my problems on paper. I just did it in my head. And
one of those people that are like, oh, I just solved it in my head. There's no work.
yeah.
You
Which
people
pros
are
and cons.
crazy.
you people. Yeah. So I did that, and then I would always get in trouble with the teacher. And so I thought, well, I don't want to teach math if this lady's going to yell at me for how I do math. And so, so I decided not to do that. But I think in many ways, I do math for a living because just kind of what I do. And then, anyways, yeah. So if you weren't doing CrossFit, you think you'd be pursuing like a career as a PE teacher?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that everything like happens for a reason too. Like I know I'd be happy doing that, but I don't know if that is truly what I'd be like super happy doing. Like I genuinely feel like where my life is going and where I'm at is like where I'm meant to be, and like I feel very happy getting to do what I do every single day. I can't imagine like having another job. So that's super cool. Even though like this wasn't really a thing, like I didn't grow up being like, oh, this is a sport that I'm going to want to do. It just kind of like came to me. And so, yeah, I think that the way your life works out is kind of all for a reason. So I try not to stress about it and just let it happen.
That's good. That's a good mindset. What if you were to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Ooh, describe myself in 3 words. I think I'm pretty easygoing. I'm a hard worker. I'd say I work really hard at the things that I'm really passionate about. I guess that's more than 3 words, but easygoing,
there's a hyphen there, so easygoing, hard worker.
And 3 words. I guess like just like energetic. I feel like very passionate about the things that like I want to do, and I kind of like wake up every single morning like really excited to do the things that I'm going to do. So I guess just like high energy about like life and the things that I'm pursuing.
That's a blessing. Do you drink coffee? Are you an energy drink person or a coffee person?
Oh my gosh, both. But like I drink coffee all the time.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say I've got a couple friends.
Drinks.
They don't drink any coffee, but they're super energetic all the time, and I'm like, I hate you. Like, how do you have energy without caffeine? I don't understand it. But you're not.
I'm a big coffee drinker, and I try and be like, I'm not addicted to it. Like, there's no way. And then if I don't drink it, I have like a pounding headache, and I'm irritable, and I'm like, I need my coffee now. Like, so I guess you could say I'm addicted.
It's therapeutic, but at the same time, yeah, it's for sure an addiction, I would say.
Yes.
I just try to like regulate mine because when I was younger, like especially prior to getting into sort of the micro elements of the fitness world, where you really truly learn the impact of different nutrients and different things like caffeine and then all the other food sources. And so, like as a kid, like late teens, early 20s, I'd drink like 3 Monsters at work and then take a pre-workout before the gym, and then have vodka Red Bulls at night when I go out with my friends. You know what I mean? Like not even considering,
oh
wow, I've had 1,200 milligrams of caffeine today. You know what I mean? Like, and now
so much.
Now I'm like very aware of it. It's like, oh, I've only had 300 milligrams. Like I'm short today, you know, like because on average
you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I know I can like sort of game it. And then there's some days where I'm like a little bit less. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta bump it up a little bit. I gotta start my day with a triple shot instead of a double shot.
That's awesome. I'm definitely the same way. Yeah, I have to regulate it.
Yeah, and then I try to cut it off like 4 p.m. Some people do 12. I'm like 12. I'm like working until 7 or 8. Yeah, 4 p.m. is my cutoff. 2?
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed though?
I'm like 8:30.
Okay, yeah, I'm like in bed at 10, asleep by 11. So
okay,
practically the same thing. So have you noticed your accent has changed since you came to Boston, or is it like still the same? Because I can hear like nuances of the Canadian accent, but it's not like heavy.
Yeah, no, I don't really have a heavy Canadian accent. I don't think. When I came here, people were like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna have like a really strong accent," and I'm like, "No, like that's for people who speak French. Like if you don't speak French, you're not really gonna have an accent." But it's funny because Chandler thinks I have a really strong accent, and he's like, "It sounds really sing-songy," and I'm like, "I don't know what that means,"
Yeah, I
but
don't know what that means either.
like I think he
Um,
thinks that it's sing-songy in a way. It's like funny when he describes it, but um, no one really here has an accent either. Like I guess if you go to Boston, people sound like that like super hardcore Boston accent, but no one at the gym really sounds like that.
have you encountered anybody like or any groups of people like super hardcore Boston people?
Yes. Yes.
They're
It is
totally
super
different
funny
breed.
to listen to. So funny.
Yeah. My mom's side of the family, like she has 7 sisters and they're all like New Hampshire, Maine, and Boston. And
Oh,
it's basically like if you ever seen the movie The Fighter, with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. Have you ever seen that movie?
no.
You must not be a movie person or a fighting movie person at least.
Honestly, it's sad to say I'm not really a movie person, which is like
Um,
horrible to say because I know there's great movies out there.
there's so many great movies, but this is one of them. And in just
Okay.
in the movie, he's got like he lives in Boston. He's like 7 sisters, and they've all got poofy blonde hair, and they all fight and argue, and they've got this deep Boston accent. It's like that's my
Ooh,
mom's side of the family.
that's funny. Yeah,
Um,
there's
so
a few people at the gym that do have like an accent, and then I've only been in the city like twice, but when I go in, it's like it's funny. It's a very strong accent.
yeah. Um, when did you start CrossFit? Like, how long have you been doing CrossFit?
I found CrossFit in May of 2018.
Okay,
So
4 years, 4.5
I
years.
guess like 4.5 years.
Wow, that's a relatively quick trajectory to the CrossFit Games.
I
Um,
I think so. Yeah.
yeah.
Like
Did you struggle with
I
anything?
yeah. I think the biggest things that I did my first open was 2019, and I really struggled with like high rep gymnastics. Um like handstand push-ups specifically, but other than that, like honestly just like anything on the rack, like pull-ups, chest to bar, toes to bar, like I just couldn't hang. Like not even close. Like I would do like a set of 3 and then be like, I'm good. Like that was really hard. So that was kind of like my first, like when I was working with my first coach back home, that was kind of like our first focus. Like we did the 2019 open. We were like, whoa, your high rep gymnastics, that needs to get better. So we basically just focused on high rep gymnastics and vested gymnastics. Like I did so many of my pulling gymnastics workouts vested for like a year, and then now it's like my favorite thing in the sport.
Yeah.
Like we just kind of took that and ran with it for a really really long time, and then the next open came around and we were like, okay, we're good there now, but here's this. And then it was basically at that point it was just fitness. It was like, okay, like you can hang on all these movements. Like from my gymnastics background, I did gymnastics when I was younger. Like when I came into the CrossFit space, like I had all my movements. Like I had legless rope climbs. I had a ring muscle up. I had bar muscle ups. Like there wasn't anything I didn't have. So I know that catapults you like so far so early, like
Yeah.
really really well. Um, so once like my high rep gymnastics got up, it was kind of like, okay, now you just have to like be fit. Like you just have to get fit now. So I would just like slam volume. Like I would just do like Metcon after Metcon after Metcon and just an insane amount of volume for like 2 years until like my fitness was there, my high rep gymnastics was there, and then it was just like strategy, how you go about it, how you recover. So we kind of just like pieced it together like that. Like we would take one thing and hit it super, super hard for like a year, and then we would move on to the next thing.
That's super
That was kind of
interesting.
what happened.
I think that gives shines a light on like, even though I would say you made it to the games faster than the typical trajectory, but it still shines a light on the value of patience, right? Like if a coach were to tell the average CrossFitter, like, hey, for 1 year, we're going to focus on your high rep gymnastics, they would be like, well, what about everything else? Like
Yeah.
a year is a long time. I have these 7 competitions I want to do, and da 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 da. And it's like, nope, for a year we're gonna do this one thing.
Yeah. You
I
kind
can
of
see
got
that
to
being
just like
challenging.
dive into it.
Yeah, I love that. What if you were to write a workout for yourself, like your favorite workout? What would it be? Or maybe it already exists, but what would that workout be?
It would be like it's gonna be super funny because it's all gonna basically be like one thing. Um, Probably something like 5 rounds for time of like 3 legless rope climbs, 10 ring muscle ups, and like 5 squat snatches at like 175.
So you just want to pull all the time.
Pull, pull, pull. Yeah, I love pulling.
I love that. Besides the legless rope climbs, I like that workout a lot. I just
Yeah.
and I like legless rope climbs, but that would blow up my arms so much, like anybody else probably. But
Oh yeah.
what's your earliest memory in life?
Ooh, these are like deep questions.
Yeah,
Wow,
they
I
come out of
like
left
this.
field. You won't be ready for the cuff. I just like pull them out of nowhere.
That's awesome. My earliest memory in life. Ooh, this one like stands out to me. Probably like being in like kindergarten at recess, and I was obsessed with the monkey bars. So I would like play on the monkey bars
Okay,
all the time at recess, and I would rip my hands really, really bad, like tear my hand up, and I would come home and like be upset because my mom would be like, "Oh, you like can't go on the monkey bars," and I would refuse to go to school because the only reason I wanted to go to school was so I could play on the monkey bars. So she would send me to school with like biker gloves. Like I would go to school with like these like biking gloves on, and like they're
wow.
fingerless. Like they looked horrible. Like they were super old too. Like she like got them out of the garage, and I would like go to school in kindergarten with these biking gloves on, and people would be like, "What the heck?" And I'd be like, "Man, I'm getting ready for recess." Like I ripped my
Yeah.
hand. I have to be ready to go.
So you've been prepping for
Did that for
CrossFit
like
since kindergarten, basically.
And I did that honestly from like kindergarten probably to like grade 5. I was that kid.
Well, like, yeah, that's where that's why you like to pull, hanging out on the monkey bars.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and that's so unusual how relevant that is to your career now.
I know, isn't it weird?
My earliest memory was getting in a fight at preschool, so not
Oh.
necessarily relevant to my career now, but
Hmm.
maybe in a different lifetime. What is speaking of not speaking of fighting, but what's the most trouble you've ever been in?
Ooh, I was not the greatest kid in school. I was kind of a troublemaker.
No.
So, yeah, so I get really competitive. So I was like I got suspended in grade 3. Not that that's like a really big deal, but I feel like if you're in grade 3 and get suspended, like that doesn't happen too often. I like punched a kid super hard, and like I think I broke his nose, but it was like bleeding. I don't remember it super well, but we were playing soccer, and I remember he was not playing nicely. Like he was like being super aggressive, and I kind of had this ongoing thing with this kid. I didn't really like him. I had a ponytail, and he came up behind me and yanked my ponytail. So I turned around and just decked him. I hit him super hard, and then all I remember is like not being allowed to go to school for like a week.
Sometimes you
So
got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
I think there's a time where you have to stand up for yourself, and there's a time where you need to turn the other cheek. And this might have been one of those times to stand up for yourself. What did your parents do?
um, they probably got mad at me, I would have to say. I was kind of, yeah, I kind of got into trouble in the like elementary school a lot. Like I got into a lot of fights. This was not the first or last time I had punched this specific kid either. I punched him, I think, like 3 times in the course of my like elementary school time. Um, yeah, they probably
Wow.
weren't super happy. I also like was that kid in class that would like cause a lot of like commotion. Like I would just laugh a lot or like just try and be funny and like cause commotion when you're not supposed to cause commotion. So I would get like dragged out of the classroom by like the collar of my shirt, like probably once a day, twice a day. And I had the
I
same
feel that.
teacher for 3 years in a row. Bless this man's heart. He probably like he was like this kid again, like for real. So yeah, I And then my sister was in the same school as me. She was only 2 years younger than me. And my mom and dad would come and like pick her up to go to like a swimming lesson, or they'd come pick her up or go on a field trip. And I remember like so many times I'd be sitting in the hallway and they'd walk by and they'd just be like, Sid, like, come on. So
Here you are again.
here I am. But that kind of got
So
sorted out by like grade 9.
here's a real question. When was the last time you punched somebody?
Last time? It's been a long time. I'm going to say.
So you've
last time
got
I
all that
punched
out.
someone, yeah, like does my sister count? Because like probably like the last time I saw her, but grade 8. Last time I really punched someone, grade 8.
Got it. All
Yeah,
right.
that's kind of like in a different life.
I don't think anybody would have picked you for someone going around breaking noses. But
No, that was like I was a wild kid back then.
well, here's a piece of advice. Don't punch anyone now, because you're a lot stronger than you used to be when you were 8.
I won't punch anyone now, don't worry. I don't think
Yeah.
that's not really my vibe anymore, but
No, don't get too caught
Yeah.
up in Boston traffic, basically.
yeah, they're so aggressive. Oh my gosh.
Did you have a nickname growing up, or do you have a nickname now? Is it the same?
It's kind of like changed throughout my life. So I kind of just go by Sid. Everyone calls me Sid. That's cool. When I played volleyball, it was Mick. So MICH. We had 4 Sydneys on my volleyball team.
Wow.
So I went by Mick, and that kind of like stuck for a while, but mostly just Sid.
Got it. What
Yeah.
did you have any jobs growing up, like early teens or anything, or was it just all school and sports?
No, I've had a few jobs actually. So my earliest job when I was 14, I worked at McDonald's, and then I got fired.
That's humbling. Did you
So
punch someone at
that was
McDonald's?
no. We just like I was 14. They were like, "You're trash. Like you got to get out of here. Like you're messing things up." To be fair, I didn't even really want to work there. So McDonald's was really short-lived.
Yeah, I can only
My
imagine. I don't know a whole lot of people that want to work at McDonald's. Like, no offense.
No. I was like, "You want to fire me?" I'm like, "That's totally fine." My longest, I guess, job was I was a gymnastics coach at the gym that I trained at for a while. So I coached gymnastics for probably a good like 4 or 5 years. And I kind of did that as I was still in high school, middle school transitioning to high school. So it was kind of like 15 to 17. So 3-4 years there. When I went to college, I worked at a garden center. So I like sold trees and like shrubs, which is
I
like
sold
funny
trees when I
because
was younger too.
really, did you like know anything about them, or was it just more like manual labor?
No, I sold weed. It was just a bad joke.
Oh,
But
that's funny. That's awesome.
I'm sorry.
If you tell me a joke, it's gonna go right over my head every time. I guarantee.
I think a lot of my jokes typically go over people's head anyways, so it's fine. I think bad jokes like that are called dad jokes at this point, and so
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm like super bad with jokes, like sarcasm too. I'm like, I just don't understand.
that's fine. I rarely elicit like a lot of emotion when I'm sarcastic, and so it throws people off too.
Oh,
They're like, I don't know are you being serious? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm sorry.
yeah, that would like really throw me off.
So you used to sell trees. Cool.
Yep, trees and shrubs, and then I worked at a like outdoor like sporting place. So I was like a wakeboard instructor, and I did like this like ropes course vibe. It was this
That's
place
pretty
called
sick.
Adrenaline Adventures, and you like it's like a big ropes course with like a zip line, and then you can go like wakeboarding in this like man-made lake. It's kind of gross, but it's what you do in Winnipeg when you're not by
Yeah, I mean,
water.
I grew up in Lakeland, so we have a bunch of gross lakes that we basically just fished in like knee deep and caught catfish with like cane poles and stuff. So I feel you.
Yeah, so lots of weird jobs, but
yeah. What's your proudest moment as a kid or maybe a young adult?
I think my proudest moment as a kid, because I guess I still would have been kid when this happened was probably making my university volleyball team. That was like a dream of mine since I was probably like 13 years old. And I worked for that goal from like 13 till 17 when I eventually like made it. So that was probably like my proudest moment as like a kid, if that
Awesome.
counts as a kid.
What's the toughest thing you think you've ever gone through in life?
The toughest thing. I'm actually going to say it was something very recent, probably me leaving the CrossFit gym that I started at to come here. I genuinely think that was probably like the toughest moment span that I've gone through. It's not easy leaving a place that you're comfortable at, that you found success in, that your friends are there. That was probably like the toughest moment like to date, was the transition here.
Yeah. What was it amicable though? Was it healthy, or was it like, were they pissed? What was there?
No, it was very healthy. It was just like, it's time. Like it's time to go. Like we both kind of knew, and it was just the way it was, but it still was very, very sad.
Yeah.
If
I
that
feel
makes
that.
any sense. Like bittersweet type of thing. Like we both knew that it was just time, and we kind of knew that it was time leading up to it, but I wasn't really like, hey, I want to go. It was kind of like a you should go type of thing. So I was kind of like, this is really tough.
Yeah.
But I know it's the right thing to do. So it was a very tough transition, but that didn't last super long because
Yeah.
everyone here is amazing.
Do you have a hero or heroes like outside of CrossFit?
Um, someone that I look up to. I don't know. I think everyone that I look up to might be, I don't know if I've really thought about that. I'm trying to think. You know what? So before CrossFit, outside of the CrossFit space, um, probably like one of my best girlfriends that I played volleyball with. I like really looked up to her as like a leader on like my volleyball team, and just kind of like the way she was able to like perform in the sport and like go to school. And she was actually one of the girls that, well, she was the girl that was kind of like, hey Sid, like you'd be really, really good at CrossFit, you should try it. So I really looked up to her. Her name's Kelsey, and she was just really good at volleyball, and she was really good at school, and I was like, whoa, she's going after what she wants. Like she kind of had this really like dominant and really strong, like, I'm going to set out to get what I want. And she kind of just like put out that energy. Like it was almost like a little bit aggressive, and I really was like, whoa, that's cool. Like I like that. So I feel like not that that worked out for me in volleyball, but I feel like I kind of took what I saw her do there and like apply it into the sport that I do now. So probably her.
Cool. What about CrossFit? Like early on when you got into this sport, who was your, favorite, or maybe your few of your favorites?
For sure, my favorite when I first got into the sport was Katrin. I read her book, and I followed her on Instagram, and I was just like obsessed. I was like, just her mindset and the way she trains, and just the way she approaches things. I just was like, I want to be like Katrin. I'm like, that is, she's got her head right. Like it was cool. So for sure her. Yeah. I always now I'm like everyone, especially now that I'm like into it, like everyone. But when I first started, like Katrin for sure.
Cool. What's been your I mean, I know you haven't done a ton of competitions, but what's been your favorite one to do so far? The games,
for
semifinals.
sure. I'm gonna say, I guess my favorite moment would have to be this past semifinal that I was at. I think that was like the best showcase of my fitness in a live competition that I've done to date. I've only ever done 2 in-person elite competitions. And the first one was the games. So I kind of was like, just really like, whoa, I'm here. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, I mean, how much do you know what you're doing when you come in your first year? I don't know, but I was just like trying to soak it all in and have a really great time. And I was like, just trying to take it all in. But then this year when I showed up to my semi, I was like, I know what this is like. I'm not here to have a good time. I'm here to win. Like, that's what I set out to do. Like, that's what I wanted to do in that semifinal. So to like compete really well all weekend. And I think like my execution and just everything that I like, my competitive nature, I was able to just like really bring out. Like, I wasn't like trying to take it all in. I wasn't like, wow, this is an amazing moment. I was like, no, you're here to do a job. Go get the job done. And then you can be happy after. And that's the way I wanted to attack that weekend. And it ended up being my favorite in-person moment so far because of that.
Awesome. Who's your favorite person to compete with or against?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I've like literally done this twice. So
True.
Favorite person to compete with or against? That's like tricky because so like the games last year, like I was like in either the first or second heat. Like I wasn't like in the final heat, like competing against like all those. Like honestly, I don't think I have one. I'll have to get back to you on that question as I keep competing. But
plead the fifth for now. Non-answer for now.
Yeah.
If you were on a team, who would be on your team?
If I was on a team like in CrossFit?
Yeah.
Ooh.
If you got to pick 2 dudes and 1 girl, who would they be?
I'm just gonna have to go with the comp train team. I'm gonna take Amanda as my girl, and I'm gonna recruit Chandler and Cole. I think we'd be a sick team.
That's a pretty badass team.
Yeah, I'll take that.
What would you like to see at the game? What I mean by that is like the games always has at least one, if not more, unique tests. Meaning, like a couple years ago, they had the obstacle course. You know, this past year, they didn't really have anything like that per se, but they've had like, I mean, even like, anyways, you get my point. What would you like to see at the games in terms of like a unique test?
I have like 2. So I guess the first one's not really unique, but I know they don't bike every single year. I would love to see some type of like biking course, whether that's like a mountain bike or like road biking, like clipped in shoes, something like that. I'd be really pumped to do. Or like some sort of like Spartan race style, like some like obstacle course-esque Spartan race, like something long, something gritty, but like something kind of, something different like that.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool.
Have you seen the stuff from Morning Chocolate posted about the what's the word I'm looking for?
Like the
permits that they pulled in the city of Madison?
Yeah, we've all been eyeing that up. I don't know. It's so hard to guess, but like, I guess my initial reaction was like run bike, like duathlon type of vibe, maybe.
Could be.
Who knows? It's like not like long enough to do like a big bike, but it's also like you could make a course out of it.
Yeah, it could be laps. And I think I could have misread it, but I think that there's a station at the end, like on one end of the course. So there could be some element at the end of the course, and then maybe you finish that element and come back. So who knows what that is, you know?
It's so hard to guess. Like we could guess all day and like, we're probably going to be wrong.
Yeah, probably. Who knows though? It's not Castro. So we could guess and get right. Who knows? What do you think the hardest thing is about being a CrossFit Games athlete or like a full-time professional CrossFit athlete?
I think the hardest part is just like dealing with not feeling good the majority of the time. And then also not letting that get to you. So I think especially like when you get into like semis and games like this time of year, just with the volume and the training and everything that you're doing, you're just not feeling good like 99.9% of the time. And like, that's definitely the hardest part because your job is to like go into the gym and to work out, but you have to balance like, oh, is that actually a good idea? Oh, should I back off on this? Like, I'm not feeling good today. Am I just being a baby? Should I work through it? Like, there's so many mixed emotions that I think go through your head when you're training at this level. Like, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? Like, am I actually hurting or do I just not want to do this? So I think it's like balancing like how your body feels and what you have to do, that aspect of it, because we're all here because we love the sport. We're all here because we love to train. It's finding that balance between like, yeah, doing too much and not doing enough. It's like that sweet spot. Like it's hard to find it, but that's probably the hardest part for me, for sure. I like to do a lot of stuff and I run myself into the ground. So we have amazing coaches to tell you when to back off, but that's definitely my biggest thing.
Got it. If you could put anything on a big blank billboard overlooking like the busiest intersection that you know of, what would the billboard say?
Ooh, these questions, these are really good. I probably don't have an amazing quote for this, but maybe like a thought that you could think of a quote for would kind of just be like don't worry too much about anything. Like, don't worry about having stuff figured out. Don't worry about like what's going to happen. Just kind of do what feels right. And I feel like that just kind of like will lead you into like what you're supposed to do. Like, don't stress, don't worry what other people think. Don't worry if you're doing the right thing. If it's like what you're supposed to do, if you're supposed to go to school, if you're supposed to have a job, like just kind of do what feels right. And I feel like if you like truly lean into that, like you're going to be successful. Like you will find success in that. Like things will work out.
I love it. So in short, by the way, are you a Christian or are you religious at all? Do you have what's your worldview there?
I'm kind of just like, I would say I'm more like spiritual. Like
okay.
More just like neutral, but belief in like a higher faith.
I think it's probably agnostic might be where you land. Not that matters in this context, doesn't the grand scheme of things, of course, but there's a scripture. It's like, don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Anyways, it's your billboard basically is like a parallel statement to scripture in the Bible. Don't worry about anything. Cool. Anyways,
yeah, I definitely feel like that makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah.
So what was my next question? If you, I love this question because I sometimes I don't even ask it, but I usually save it for whenever I feel like people are extra nice. It's called the trolley dilemma. You ever heard of the trolley dilemma?
Mm-mm.
It's like a question they ask and for tests in psychology, but if you had to choose, so imagine there's a trolley or a train, right? And you have control of the direction the train goes, and the train comes to a fork in the road, and it either can go left or right.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the track is on the right is a loved one, and on the left is 5 strangers that you've never met. You got to choose where the train goes. Where's it going?
Well, it's going to the 5 strangers I never met. Right? Isn't that the right answer? A loved one and then 5 strangers?
Well, I don't know that there's a right answer.
Well, I think my initial reaction would be like to save my loved one. That would be my initial, like, I'm not thinking like, obviously I'm going to choose that in that moment.
Okay, so there's 100 people and then 1 loved one. Now what are you doing?
Jeez. Oh gosh. Like, yes, still, like, I'm still going to save that loved one.
You're going to kill 100 people?
Yeah, I think so.
Who is this person? Like, who is the loved one?
I don't know, but if I love the person, like, I don't know these other people, like, I think I would do anything, right? Like my mom, my dad,
Okay.
my
All
sister,
right.
yeah, for sure.
It's loyalty. Um,
I
if
guess you
are
could
you a
say
reader?
so.
Do you read?
Am I a reader, like books?
Yeah. I don't know what else you would read, but yes.
Not a lot.
Okay. You don't have to be, but yeah. What's your favorite cereal?
Right now I'm obsessed with Reese's Pieces cereal, like Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah,
That's like a daily that's on the daily menu. I just had
that's
it like
nice.
right before we hopped on here.
Nice. Summer or winter?
Summer,
Beach or mountains?
beach.
Okay. Um, so think about this. This is not a short question like the other ones. In the in the professionalization of CrossFit, when you think about all the athletes that you know, with yourself included, and if you were to create like a pie graph that was to sort of like attribute the success in CrossFit to either genetics or hard work, what would the percentage in your pie graph be?
Genetics and hard work. I I think hard work is gonna be bigger, but not a lot. I think I'm gonna say it's like 60% hard work and 40% genetic because I truly think like the best people in our sport are genetic freaks. Like there's no way that they're getting to where they are without having good genetics. So I'm going to give that 40, but there's also no way they're getting there without the most insane work ethic. Like they
Yeah,
have to have 100% work ethic. Like they have to be the hardest workers in the room, but they also on top of that are going to have the best genetics. So I think it's a mixture of both. Um but I do believe that hard work you won't get anywhere. Like you could be the most genetically gifted person on this planet, and if you don't have a good work ethic, like you're not going anywhere. So there
yeah,
definitely has to have that balance. But I do think genetics in any like once you're comparing the top like 0.001%, like it makes a huge difference. So I'm gonna give it like a 60% hard work, 40% genetic. I
I
think.
agree. I think that's fair. A couple questions to close out. One being, what would your advice be for aspiring CrossFit Games athletes, or at least aspiring competitive CrossFit athletes, people trying to go from being, everyday uh, class takers to competitive athletes?
I think I would have a few. I think like one of them, like some basic ones would be like find a coach that you trust and that you enjoy working with because that's going to make a huge difference in your success. And find a program that works for you. You need to work on your weaknesses. You can't just go in and do class. You gotta focus on what you gotta work on. So coaching, programming, um, which is obvious, I think. And then the third one would be like to just always have fun with it. I think once you stop having fun with it, that's when you're going to stop being successful because you're going to the reason we all get into this is because we love it. Like we all start it because it's fun. And I think if you can continue to have fun with it, even as you're trying to make it your profession, your career, you're trying to make it to the CrossFit Games, that's just going to make you so much more successful. You're going to come into the gym with such a high desire to train. And even if you leave that day feeling absolutely wrecked, the day crushed you, you didn't really do anything that you didn't do as good as you thought, you're still going to be like, whoa, I'm really excited to go back to the gym tomorrow. And those just like consistent days of like getting to the gym, working really hard and loving it, I feel like those add up and make you successful over time. So yeah, coaching, programming, and then just like having fun with it.
That's great. That's great stuff. 3 points too. I love a good 3 point advice. Last but not least, how do you want people to remember you? When you're old and gone, what do you want people to say about you?
Um, I think I would just like people to say that that I was like a fun person to be around, like that they liked having me around. And I would like to think that I could like leave someone or leave a space better than I found it. Like I try and come into every relationship or like place I go to and try and just like bring a positive light, like bring that positive energy, and just kind of like try and leave the place better than I found it in any way that that could be, whether that's like in a professional way or even just in a lighthearted way, just like smiling at someone or just being there for someone if they need it, but just trying to like leave a positive outlook to like every situation I'm in.
That's great. Sydney, thanks for being on the show today. It was a lot of fun getting to know you, especially as a rookie in the sport where we don't know a whole lot about you. And it was cool catching up. And I wish you the best at the CrossFit Games here in like I don't know, a month and 2 days from today.
Yeah, like a month. Thank you so much for having me. It was so
Absolutely.
much fun.
Cool. Well, that's it. We will close things out. You'll see this little red light shut off, and then you and I can sort of debrief off camera in a second. But thanks again for being on. And as soon as